which is one of our advisors. He's, as you know, if you have a class with him, he's ill, so he's not allowed to come near the public. But I want to let you know that we do have a lot of strong people behind us supporting us, and we expect to grow the club to a lot more members as we move forward. But thank you everyone for your support, the ones that are here. We do have a presentation from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Oh, by the way, my name is Veronica Recinos. And I'm the president of the club. We have Monique also. And Monique Moore, she's the vice president. And we have Ricardo Peralta, right? Ricardo Peralta. And he is, Ricardo Peralta is in charge of donations and our fundraisers. And this year he has been able to reach 2 donations and working on an our donation or fundraiser as well. So thank you so much for that. Well, we have the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Fraud Cyber Crimes Bureau and Real Estate Fraud, Sergeant Jacqueline Luna and Retired Sergeant Dina McKentz. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll go ahead and give you the podium.
So I'm going to go ahead and start. Hi, I'm Sergeant Jacqueline Luna with the Sheriff's Department. I've been with the department for approximately 17 years. I've worked custody, patrol, as a detective. I've been actually a training officer also, and then promoted, went to as a patrol sergeant for a while. Then I came over to Fraud and Cyber Crimes Bureau. Dana McCants works with us. He's actually retired. He's a 120-dayer, which means he worked 120 days a year. And he's actually the expert in real estate fraud, because before I was there, he was actually in charge of it and does very well, does speaking events. And you've also been on patrol as a sergeant, as an acting lieutenant. I mean, he's done it all. So we're very happy to be here. Thanks for having us. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about our bureau and what we do. Then we're going to talk about fraud. After that, if you guys have any questions, either during or after, if you have any questions, we'll be here to answer anything any questions you might have. And whatever you learn here, please take it back to your community, to your friends, to your family, because a lot of people don't know that some of this fraud is going on and are unaware of it. And so we like to go out and speak to the public so that they're aware and they can, not just learn themselves, but also teach others what we're going to teach you here today. Also, at the end of the class, we put out some flyers in the back, so feel free to take some of those. It's very good information for you or your family. So what does fraud stand for? It stands for financial reward acquired under deception. That makes sense, right? So you receive something in return for some type of fraud that you did. So it could be, even if it's a property, it's still worth money, right? Whether the property's worth $600,000, that's basically what you stole. And you acquired it under deception, so that's what fraud is. I just wanted you guys to see what it stands for. So the real estate fraud team is funded by the Real Estate Fraud Prosecution Trust Fund. It was established back in 1996, and the reason why they created this is because back then, in 1996, there was a lot of fraud cases, and that was something kind of new. And there were so many that they had to establish this trust fund. And basically what it is any document that's recorded, what real estate fraud is any document that's recorded or assumed to be recorded is considered fraud. The way we receive this money is through the recorder's office. So there's a fee. So when you go into the recorder's office and you record, say, a grant deed, an instrument, anything that has to do with real estate fraud, there's a fee for that. And that fee, a certain amount is put to the side for investigation and prosecution. And they put this in a bucket, and that's how we divide it within different agencies, including the district attorney's office, who's actually in charge of this. And let's see, and it comes directly from obviously so each agency has to report how many cases they investigate. And so Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is actually a very big department. So we we actually investigate a lot more cases than other agencies, so it's divided depending on how many cases we receive a year. And the real estate fraud team is, believe it or not, we only have 4 detectives for LA County Sheriff's Department that specialize in real estate fraud. I'm the real estate fraud sergeant, and I also have what's a volunteer who works in the private industry who helps us unravel some of these complex cases. So sometimes we get stuck, we call him, he helps us. We actually work together very closely. And then also we have Dana McCants, who came back as a 120-dayer after he retired. So it's great, we have a team that we all just help each other out with these cases. The same thing, what we investigate is any type of fraudulent instrument that's recorded through the recorder's office. And it has to be recorded, or to be recorded, used as fraud. That's when we investigate those types of cases. This is our map. So anything you see in green or light green is the Sheriff's Department. Up at the top you see a little lavender, that's LAPD, and then all the other, the dark purple are other agencies. So for example, even though like say Bell Gardens or Downey PD or Long Beach PD, it's all in LA County, right? But they have their own departments, so then we would investigate their real estate cases. We only investigate ours, and we have a total of 88 cities. So as you see with 4 detectives in 88 cities, that's a lot of work. We have a lot of work. So many cases that we investigate, but we work closely with all the other agencies. And so with that, we're part of the task force. We're part of a real estate fraud task force, and we actually meet every month. We used to do it in person down at the State Bar in downtown in LA. Now we work, as of right, it's been a couple of years now, we meet virtually. And basically what we do is we discuss real estate cases with all the task force members. So some of those task force members are like the District Attorney's Office, LAPD, Long Beach PD, the Assessor's Office, the Recorder's Office, and other federal and local agencies are part of that task force. So we meet together and we discuss the cases. Sometimes we have like one agency might be discussing the same suspect that we have in LA County Sheriff's, in the Sheriff's Department. So we connect and we're able to discuss these cases together and hopefully file these cases with the District Attorney's Office, because a lot of these suspects don't just commit one crime, they've actually done it to several victims. So we connected in that way. So this helps us with our needs. And then Dana, do you want to speak about the weather a little bit?
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm used to telling people to get out of the car, put their hands out the window. So I have a really good voice for that. But I'm going to come up here a little bit because in the real estate arena, and I'm assuming all of you, try to give me a gauge. How many in here kind of know about real estate? How it works? How many in here are notaries? Anybody? What is a notary? Can anybody tell me? The one that witnesses while you're signing the documents, right? Make sure that's who you really are, puts a thumbprint, right? Okay, so who's an agent? Is that her? Yeah, so there's the agent. We got the notary stamp in the corner. We've got all kinds of people here in the game, right? So the biggest thing is when a report gets taken, we want to make sure that before we go and start making contact with anybody and saying, hey, you know, what's going on, we don't want to spring the web. We call it springing the web. We do all of our pre-work as much as we can. We run the profile of the history of the property. We've done all our background checks of everybody. Everything we know as much as we can before we finally say, who are we going to talk to first? Because the first person we talk to, what's going to happen? What do you think? If, let's say they're bad. Let's say they're bad. A bad notary. What do you think that bad notary is going to do? Probably maybe call somebody. Yeah. Maybe then say, oh, I'm going to get rid of my journal. Right? And then they call somebody, and so that can be fun. Say they're good though, and they're just worried. Oh my gosh, maybe I made a mistake. What do? Maybe they call somebody, right? And that can be a problem too. So we try to really make our call, and once we make it, we're off and running, okay? And there's no turning back. There's many ways we go after people. There's nice ways, a little harder depending on how involved in their criminal acts they are too. So These keys here, just so you know, this is one case of real estate fraud. Every one of these is a victim the detective had and discovered. So he put them all on there. So when he went to trial, and they said, hey, you know, how many victims in this case? And he picked it up and he said, this many. And he dropped it. Is that dynamic? Does that get your attention? Think about all the work of interviewing all those people, all those agents, all those notaries, all the people involved in the process of buying a home. Okay? A lot of people, huh?
So communication and prevention, we also attend, classes like this, or we go to community outreach. We go out there, we try to connect with either the elderly people or just like the public. Anytime there's any type of event that they invite us from all over the county. We've actually had to go out to Riverside one time. I mean, we travel wherever they need us, we will go to make sure that we spread the word and to make sure that people are aware of the type of fraud that's out there. Again, these are some of the photos. They're kind of outdated. I think they're back in 2013. I'll put some new ones, I promise. But this, there's Dana up there to the right. Where were you at, Dana?
I was at a conference on elder scams in LAX.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that. Over here to the left, looks like they just did a search warrant at a location.
Safe Haven, 500 victims. State Bar came in with that case also, and other victims from other agencies too.
So as you see, it's a task force. So we invite other task force members to help us out during these type of searches because there's so much paperwork and so much work, and a lot of people obviously get arrested behind this. Here to the left, again, we talk to the media. We provide information out there, and even when we're looking for suspects, we'll get on camera and find out if we can find where this person's at. Down here is the recorder's office on the right-hand side. That's actually the suspect walking out. Do you know about the story about that one?
That one was just a recorded, actually captured the suspect. He had just recorded the doc and was walking away. So we were able to say at what window, what person received the paperwork, we were able to document it. So when we do the interview and they're saying, I don't know what you're talking about, we slide it across. And it makes a different approach to an interview. Once we start showing stuff like this to the other side, they have a defense attorney and they want to fight in court, we make sure they know these things, and we've got this kind of documentation, and usually there's a plea deal made immediately. So, very good. These are just different ways of getting things done. There's all kinds of ways, all different kinds of things going on that you have to know. And fraud, and then taking those skills in all kinds of identity theft, cybercrime, all these things are being utilized to do real estate. So you've got to really be up on your elder fraud and all the modern stuff that's going on. What's a twist that's happening that's really very confusing for a lot of people? We've got to make sure our people are on top of it, is now we've got cryptocurrency. Real estate going on maybe with cryptocurrency. So you've got to understand how that works. It's not your conventional, wiring money and things like that. It's a whole different approach. And you've got to know how to seize, how to store, how to freeze it, the funds. Today they're worth this, but tomorrow what are they worth? They're constantly changing, right?
And the same thing, we work together with the District Attorney's Office, Department of Consumer Affairs, Register Recorder's Office, the DRE Assessor's Office, and State Bar. And obviously the private industry, which is the Title Insurance Escrow Association's notaries, and like I said before, we speak to media and public outreach. We work very closely with these people because they actually help us out. We help each other out. Sometimes they actually call us to do some trainings for their office or whatever the case is, and we'll go out there. But then also when we need something, they're also there for us when we need them to check something.
And we're going to highlight a crime I'm going to go through one real quick that's happening right now, and it affects the title industry, the escrow, and a lot of these people, and it's affecting a lot of the private industry too. So everybody's got a piece in the game. And real estate, you think that when somebody wants to buy a house that it's a slow process, everybody says take their time? Or is it, I want that house and I want it now. I want to close. When can I close and get that? And when can you get the other people out? When's it going to be ready? So it's driven by now, right? So a lot of people are like, you got to do your job. You have to make sure you're doing the right thing, right? Because if you rush it, that's when people take advantage of it. And those little things slip through the cracks, and then you get a fraud. Right? So, you want to take it back? So fraudulent wire instructions and emails in the real estate transactions. So everybody, anybody here bought a house? When you bought a house, did you wire money at some point? Okay. And so we're going to get to that slide. That's perfect. I want to make sure. Just push that button. There you go. So when you wire money, you're really just electronically moving money. And we're moving money electronically every day. When you go and you use your cards and stuff, that's really a wire. That's really moving money electronically, right? So when you're not moving money electronically, say it's like a check. But now even checks. Anybody gone to a store, written a check, and they take it, they scan it, give it back to you? It's become a wire. So wires are used a lot, okay? And that's all it is, the movement of money, okay? Between banks, entities, institutions, merchants, whatever, okay? And many of us can move money ourselves. Anybody got the apps on their phones where you guys can move money? Yeah. What do we, give me an example. What do we call that? Yeah, good. How about email? What is the difference is now, because I'm going to talk about two different things here. What is email? Electronic communication, right? And we can do all kinds of things with email. We can put attachments on it. We can send pictures. We go back and forth. We have documentation. We've got all kinds of things that go on with email, right? Okay. So, how are we targeted in this crime? Where we start getting people to get into our accounts or take over our instructions. By hacking, actually getting into computers. Emails get hacked into or somehow diverted in some way, which we'll talk about. Social media. So here's the point where I was asking you, if you ever open something and say, you know, I shouldn't open that. I don't think I'm going to. It doesn't make sense. I'm not even a Wells Fargo Bank customer and saying, hey, your account's in trouble, customer. And then I'll have people call me and they'll say, I don't know why I opened it. I know I didn't have a customer bank, but I opened it. And so when you open it, inside there could be a program that now is in your computer. And it allows the people that are doing this maybe to now manipulate inside your computer. So when you send an email, or they send an email from your account, it looks like you sent it. And so let's say it's a business, they get into a business, and they send an email, it looks like it came from the escrow company, because they've gotten into their system. So it doesn't just stop there. Let's say, are companies linked? Are other companies linked to each other? Do they go worldwide? Look how fast, by opening one thing, can spread worldwide. So that's why everybody's always saying, don't open it unless you know where it came from. You know, firewall, know what you're doing. Is your stuff encrypted? There's a reason, because computers get hacked into this way. Malware, that's what we were talking about, and viruses, okay? They're in there. Sometimes they go dormant, you don't even know it. They may not do anything for months, okay? Or, as you'll see in the video, they're watching and just waiting for certain things, okay? Sometimes, we have people that are inside companies that are internally watching too, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. So, hacking. Anybody have wireless at home? I think we all do. Yeah. And we all make sure we're encrypted. We don't have it open. What kind of sites are open? Where would you go and maybe say there's free Wi-Fi? Where? Starbucks. Fraudsters love Starbucks. That's usually that business address on the card.
The airport.
They love it. Any place that's got like libraries, airports, anywhere where it says it's public, you get in there and other things can happen. So you want to make sure, also you got to make sure you got an antivirus program on your computer. Everybody got some kind of an antivirus? Okay. I don't know if it's a computer class, but you got to do that. So people are phishing all the time. They're looking. The bottom device is a pineapple, we call it. All I've got to do is go, well, I can sit right here, we can be in a marketplace, and it actually knows everybody that's going on. It's picking up. And then I bump you. I just hit the program, and you go off. The minute you get bumped, what do most people do when they lose their contact log back on. When you log back on, I need your password. It captures it. So pineapples are out there. So hotels, a lot of hotels, people check in the room, they watch the whole hotel. They just sit in the room, nice and comfortable. Okay? So you gotta be very careful with pineapples, public Wi-Fi, and phishing. People sending you things to respond to. Okay? So, social media, internet sites, malware can be introduced, and then how about purchases on the internet? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you gotta be careful when you're doing on the internet. Okay? So, malware, emails. You receive an email which advises you the password needs to be reset. You would then start to tap on a box or a button on the email to reset your password. Once the box is tapped, the malware is entered your computer. Or it'll say, don't tap. And people, or if you don't want your messages tap. I mean, there's ways to make you do it. And once you do it, it's in there. So once it's in there, the suspect can hijack your computer and basically send emails like it's coming from you or your company. And it'll display your email address. Okay? So, now we're going to get into how this affects in this, what we're talking about. Okay? So who's targeted? So who do you think? Do you think real estate's targeted? Is real estate a lot of money? So there's a lot of stuff going on. I can go out there and do credit card fraud and other things, but it takes a lot of repetition, a lot of people, a lot of things going on, right? Real estate, boom, one house, lots of money, done. 10 houses, I'm done. I can live for the year, right? Think about it. Go ahead. So, escrow companies, real estate agents, title companies, buyers and sellers, investment firms, everybody here, anyone can be targeted. Okay? So, you get instructed to take your funds and send them to where you're told to send, so you can close and buy that house, right? And you think you've sent them. And then you get this call that says, we didn't get those funds. How does that happen? I mean, people are going, just like she is. Go ahead. So here's an example of an email. This is a made up one. Go ahead. So you've got this address, and here's the bogus one. Can you tell me what is different? Would you even look at an email address when you get something? Do you even click to the right to see who sent you something? What is different between the real one and the bogus one? The spelling. And it's very, very, very hidden, huh? If you're not looking, I mean, they do this. So if you're not careful, so when you get an email and you're going, and I actually get emails from people that I know, and they're saying, hey, I'm in a meeting, I need you to help me go buy some gift cards. I already know it's a scam, right? I right-click their name, and I find out it's some weird email. Do that, check it. So an example. An escrow officer of a title company in Michigan received email wire transfer instructions from the listing agent on behalf of the seller, basically saying, here's what you're going to do. Soon after, the escrow officer received another email from the listing agent stating that the seller's bank account had been compromised and the wire should be redirected to another bank in Boston. The email contained new transfer instructions. The escrow officer failed to notice the email was different, and then the agent's real email. Okay. So the escrow agent transmitted $96,000 plus, a lot of money, huh? To the bank account reflected on the email instructions. Go ahead. And it was gone. Gone. Now, when we find out this happens, we've got like 24 hours. So that's what we're trying to get the word out. We have the ability to a lot of times freeze that money before it goes offshore, it needs to leave the country, or it's sitting in the bank and it hasn't yet been pulled, and it has these different things that go on. That first 24 hours, and the next 24, very critical. When you have this, you hear somebody talking about what we're talking about today, they've got to immediately call their agency and get a report and get started on this. Because if you want to freeze that money and get it back, you've got to work quick, or otherwise it's gone. And there's no way to get it back. Okay?
So real quick on that, being said, you're an agent or you're going to be an agent, just make sure that you let your clients know to be aware of this, because if they're victimized and their money's gone, then your commission's gone too, right? So just make sure that you're letting your clients know, or buyers or sellers, that this can happen.
So on this example, like she's saying, if you got this, say you were selling a house, What should people be doing when they get something like this? What do you think they should be doing to confirm before they do anything, spend $96,000? What? And there's other scams out there, like I've been arrested, I'm your grandson, I'm in Canada, you know, I need money. And what should people do when they get something like that?
Call the escrow company.
Yes! Call, say, hey, what's going on here? Or, hey, grandma, or Fred, or my nephew, are you okay? Are you in Canada? Are you in Mexico? Wherever they say they are? No, I'm at home. Oh, but you gotta call. But people don't always do that, especially if they're elderly. A lot of times they get confused, they get upset. But non-elderly too. I can't believe the calls I get from my own relatives telling me, it's so believable. I gotta send the money. Don't. If they're asking for gift cards, don't. That's not how we do business. So here's another one. Escrow officer, in another case, received emailed wire transfer instructions from a listing agent on behalf of the seller. Soon after, the escrow agent received another email from the listing agent saying the seller's bank account has been compromised and the wire should be redirected to a bank in Korea. Go ahead. The escrow officer saw that the agent's email was the same. Remember? This is maybe a compromised account. And transmitted the money to the new bank account reflected on the email instructions. Go ahead. The escrow agent was later contacted by the agent and asked where the money was. Agent and escrow officer realized the agent's email had been hijacked. So $1.5 million cyber heist against a California firm in 2015 has forced the company to close and lay off its entire staff. Meanwhile, the firm's remaining money is in the hands of a court-appointed state receiver who's preparing for a lawsuit against the victim's bank to recover the stolen funds. So I want to show you a really cartoon-type video. It's really kind of easy, and it kind of shows what goes on. If we just kind of hit the button, it should start. And you should be able to see it with the lights there. You can move that hand away now. I'm going to start on it. There we go.
Stacy? Stacy, you here? Babe, I got your message. I'm not sure I completely understand what it means.
It means what it said, Frank. It's gone. All of it. Everything we worked so hard for.
$650,000 doesn't just disappear. There must be some kind of mistake.
There's no mistake. It was hackers. They took everything. Who are you calling?
Our real estate agent.
Don't bother. He stopped returning my calls. And the escrow companies told me the same thing 15 times. Wait for law enforcement.
Michelle Sanders, Cybercrimes Task Force. The escrow company brought me up to speed, but I need to get as much information from you as possible.
Absolutely. Anything we can do.
For starters, can you tell me if you got an email requesting you to change the wiring instructions from your lender to the escrow company?
Yes, I got one like that a couple days ago from our real estate agent.
May I see it? This is it, the smoking gun.
Are you sure? I mean, look at all this information it contains. Information only we would know. And it was sent from John Waters, our agent. This is his email address right here.
I know it looks like it was sent by your agent, but really, it was sent by hackers. They hijacked your agent's account.
Well, they can do that? Actually send an email from his account?
It's a 4-step process. I can walk you through it. In step 1, the hackers use something called an email extractor, software you can buy off the internet, that enables them to collect email addresses for thousands of people working in a particular industry. In this case, the real estate industry. Agents, brokers, escrow and title officers, anybody with a real estate-related extension in their email address got targeted. Step 2 involves the hacker sending a phishing email to the thousands of addresses they just harvested.
Phishing emails. I've heard of those. They trick people into opening them and clicking on a link or opening an attachment.
And the hacker hackers only need one agent to take the bait, and they're in. Then it's on to step 3, research. They learn everything from listing addresses to sales prices to loan amounts, escrow and title company names, even full account numbers. Finally, in step 4, the hackers use this information by sending an email to the home buyer telling them to reroute funding from their lender to a new fraudulent account. And since the hackers are actually inside the agent's email account,
The email looks legit.
these people are smart, sophisticated, and their methods are constantly evolving.
So how do we protect ourselves?
By not trusting email that requests you to send money or wire funds to a different account. Any email like that must be treated as suspicious and must be followed up with a phone call to verify its authenticity. I'd encourage you to contact your lender and ask for a wire recall. It's a long shot since several days have passed, but it's worth a try.
Well, is there anything else we should be doing?
File for bankruptcy immediately.
Bankruptcy?
Our loan went through. Meaning they're still going to expect payments on a home we don't even own.
What about our old house? What happens with that?
Ownership has already transferred. That deal is unaffected by this.
Well, we can't afford to stay here. So where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do?
I'm very sorry.
What do you think? It does stop, huh? Any comments about the video? It's always good. Does anybody have a question about that at all, or pretty gut wrenching, huh?
So after she said that after a few days, they could try and do the recall, the wire recall.
Yeah, wire recall. Remember I said 24 hours, first 24, you go to the bank and sometimes they can do what's called a recall. And maybe the other bank, which is not the same bank, or if it is their own, maybe they can try to get the money or at least freeze it, or put a flag on it. Because the banks can do some of that too. And we have contacts, people that we can contact, and we can actually get that money and freeze it, and then we have to send a search warrant or a clear order within 3 days, and then we get the process of trying to get the money back. Now, that's only half of it. That's just getting the money and stopping the bleeding. The next part is solving the crime. Who's doing this? We've actually got a task force that works this kind of stuff, and they've been very successful. And it gets into a whole different area of fraud, which would take a while to explain. So I'm not going to do that, but you need to know about this part. This is the part where you got to get out there. Don't trust emails and be very careful what you're opening on your computers. Okay?
And a lot of these hackers actually do it on a Friday because the victim doesn't find out until maybe Monday. So I've had it where one of my victims called on Friday and said I sent it at 3 o'clock. It was already 5 o'clock and she wanted to verify and they said they hadn't received it. I'm sorry, so she didn't know about it started Friday. She called me on Monday saying she sent it on Friday and they said they didn't receive it. Well, it was a little too late. Once I had my detectives jump on it, the money had been wired out to, I forgot where it was, Jamaica or somewhere. So she could get her money back, and that was the money she earned like for years and years. Like she was buying a house for her parents, so that money was gone. So it was very devastating.
So I was speaking at another investment group on a weekend, and these people were buying a house in Arizona, I think it was, and it was their dream home. And everybody in there was like, wow, and they went home, and it was Monday. They went ahead and fell into this trap and lost all their money. And I hear everything. What is we tell you? Make a police report immediately. Okay? I mean, and we've got a lot of people that don't even understand what we're talking about, even in agencies, police agencies. So what we say, especially when it comes to this kind of thing, I don't care where you live, we're telling you, call us, we'll either get that person, that other people tell them what to write, or we can write it and we help as a courtesy to get this. It's one of those you have to stop immediately and freeze. But we got to do it quickly. So if we have to write the report, we do it. We'll do it. We don't wait for some other agency and them to understand it. But a lot of agencies don't understand major frauds. And it's not their fault. They don't have the resources. We do. So, first 24 hours, very critical police report. Got to get it going. Okay? The other thing you need to worry or get going is make sure you've got good, if you have a business, especially an escrow business or even with lending or anything in the real estate arena, that you've got good encryption going on, good programs, good things in place that people can't get into. Anybody have WhatsApp in here? If you have WhatsApp, when I send something in WhatsApp, when we say it's encrypted, right? So when it goes to the other end, can anybody else, unless they're part of it and they understand what we're talking about? So one sentence could be a whole page of just symbols that encrypted. And unless you got the encrypted, which could take a long time, you're not going to be able to get into it. So there's a lot of things behind encryption. And when they say buy a certain service, for companies that are dealing in money, real estate, stocks, investments, monetary, it's very important. Very important. So malware, antivirus, malware, oh my gosh, you've got to make sure this stuff's all up to date too. You've got to scan, you got to renew it, you got to make sure you're updating, and you got to watch and make sure people are not playing on social media. Games, anything that's going on at work where people are tagging in and playing games. There's constantly banners and drop downs and things going on. And they hit it and boom, off it goes. So when sending emails, try to avoid key phrases. This is what they're looking for. Remember the guy sitting at home like this? He's looking for that word, wire transfer. They sit there, they'll have maybe 20 markers in a room. And they're all sitting with these programs. And all of a sudden, one pops and the noise goes off. And it says, somebody just sent something with the word wire transfer, money, dollar amount, bank information. He goes, slides on over, or she, and boom, that's what they sit on. It's working. That's the one we're going to work right now. Okay? And these rooms, they're amazing. You go in, and there'll be just tons of computers all working in phones. Phones by each one, representing with the name of the person they're impersonating, whatever they're doing. They're sitting there working in one room. Generic terms, information attached. Here's what you requested. Very basic stuff. You don't need to type all that explanation. Okay? Using your phone, call and verify. Okay? Implement handshake procedures. Get back to talking in person with people. I just walked today, driving here, and people they're walking and they're crossing streets and they're just doing this. They're stepping off curbs. And then they start yelling at the guy like hey, you need to get your face up and look around. Because there's other things, maybe following and doing things, watching you. All right, we gotta get back to putting these aside. When I teach, a lot of times, even law enforcement, we go into the room, we'll have a cell phone table, and I'll tell them, those all go on the table. I don't have time for that anymore. In our time, we gotta talk, not that. You want to do it on break, go get it, but it goes back to the table. Because what are people doing in class? Not good. Fax machines, maybe you come back. Fax machines are actually coming back in the industry because it's safer. When in doubt, fall back on what works. Going back to using cashier's checks, which have its own dilemma and fraud, but maybe going back because now you got to hand it off and you can verify it. You've got things you can do with it. In some instances, faxing may add additional security. Making sure your people are trained. I actually taught it to somebody else, and they didn't pass it on to one of their employees. And this person actually was helping me get the word out. Called me and said, oh my God, Sarge, one of my employees, she fell for it. She just transmitted $100,000. We got right on it, we got it all back. We were very lucky, very lucky. God teach. Destroy your computer. What do you guys do with your old computers? Huh? You actually take the hard drive out?
No, I don't have
So you think by clearing everything that is gone? Our people that work on the cyber side, we can get anything on a computer that's ever been erased. It's all there. We've got the programs. They're there. That information is not going anywhere. Unless you destroy it, or platters, open it up, take it out, or whatever, it is there. So is it a good idea to sell your laptop at a garage sale?
No.
How many of you have online banking? Yeah. What's on your bank? What's on your stuff? How about copy machines? You know what happens with copy machines? Everything that's copied is recorded. And people go around now and they're buying copy machines that people discard from businesses and law enforcement, anywhere. And they can get all that information with the programs. All that private stuff is and things that we use every day in memory, gotta be careful, our computers, our cell phones. We can download anything from cell phone, and get into it, all right? I mean, there's all kinds of ways to get that information. If we can get it, anything else can get it, all right? Yes?
Sometimes they have this electronic, even the county or the places, the electronic disposal. I have never taken any computer because
Electronic waste.
But I see people taking their computers, fax machines, old ones. So are you saying that those still have something? So how, if it goes to places like the county that I guess people trust because it's either.
So what do you think happens at an e-waste?
I don't know.
Because they just had one in my community today.
That's exactly the question. What happens when I take it to the LA County here in Alhambra, Fremont, they have this thing, okay, wait, you take it there. I'm thinking, oh, well, let's say it's reliable, it's from the county line. So what happens?
So there's vendors that say, hey, we can take that product there that you guys collected and we can actually recycle it and make it friendly or use it, right? There's different vendors. And there's actually industries that will take in all that electronic. You ever notice that a lot of the electronic ones don't take anything but electronic? They don't want your chemicals and other things. All they want is electronic. There's gold components. There's things that can be stripped out inside that are expensive, and they're not supposed to be, but there are people, you don't know who's working in these places. They hire a lot of people, and they could be stripping out memory. All right? Just telling you, I mean, everything, like paper shred, when they have a shredding event, when they come to the county, when they come in, we have to actually expose it. We have to see them shred it. I mean, we can't have things that we print out about people and criminal history that's very private and protected. The state has said we can access it only if we have an investigation. We have to put our name on it and everything. And then we throw it into a recycle bin, and it goes out, and if they don't shred it, we still see it get shredded, somebody can go through it before it gets shredded at the plant, right? Think about it. When you put stuff on a truck, what's going on inside the truck? When you're moving, all your stuff's being moved from one state to another. Could people be inside there going through your stuff? You gotta be careful about the things we allow people to do. And identity theft, this is a big component too, that I do a lot of instruction on identity theft. Think about what you're doing. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? I don't know, maybe I should take that and just put a hammer right there on that hard drive, bam, and smash it. You want the components, fine, but that's useless now. The old days, if you opened up the hardware platters, once you opened it, it's contaminated because they float on here. The minute you open the contamination, they're done, right? But now, they're not platters anymore. They're circuitry. It's all electronic. So you gotta be very careful, folks. Don't be trusting everything. When you throw your stuff, I know I'm gonna involve a little bit, but I got a big feeling here that we got the time to discuss this, right? When you put your recyclables, when you put your shredded paper in your mail, please don't just rip it in half. And when you shred it, make sure you don't have the shredder that's long, you got the little, because people are going through, where do you think people put their shredded paper? What bin? The blue one. And when I was in patrol, what do you think at 3 or 4 in the morning, I'd drive and I'd find people going through the blue bins. They're not going to the gray one with all the garbage. They're going to the blue one because everybody wants to save the earth, right? And they're saying, take me. And they're in there. I've gone around corners when I was working with Anita, in a pickup truck. Mom was holding on to her kid belt and teaching the kid how to steal mail out of the mailboxes all down the street, and he was just shoving it in. She was just shoving it inside. You would be surprised what's going on at night in your communities. Seriously, you need to really lock your cars. Don't leave anything visible. Lock your gates. Watch what you're putting in the trash. We do a lot of trash digging too when we want to know about something. We actually go out and look through people's trash to do a search warrant. Because once it's on the curb, it's ours. We can look at it. We're looking there. You see movies about it. It's comical, but it's really how we do our job. We're looking to see, hey, does that person live here? We're going to go ask a judge to go into this house at 7 in the morning and change their life forever. We got to make sure they live here. So we go through their garbage. There's no guarantees in life, right? Oh my gosh. If you search hard enough, you can find exceptions to the rules. True. There is no magic bullet. And technology changes and fraud follows. This is what you know, because you want to talk about anything current that is really just disheartening?
Well, current, like, so some of the houses when they're for sale, they're actually empty, right? Most of them. Just be careful if you are an agent or you're gonna be an agent, make sure you're checking the doors, check the windows, because right now what we're having is a lot of squatters. They're going in there, they're changing the locks, and they're setting up shop, and then now the owner who was about to sell it now has to evict them, and it's gonna take 3 to 6 months. You know, they're losing money, they have to hire an attorney, so they're more money, and then now the agent doesn't have that, you know, house anymore to sell, and vice versa. But anyway, so if you are out there, make sure that you're checking the doors, make sure that something's visible. I don't know if the homeowners can get cameras while it's being up for sale, but anyway, I recommend that you don't put a post to show it's for sale if it's empty. I just don't recommend that because I see so much crime that's who they go online, they can see what's for sale, but if you put a post, sometimes they're just driving around, they're just checking, oh, that house, and it's empty, I can see there's no blinds or shutters or whatever. So anyway, that's what I'm kind of seeing right now. It's been happening for a long time, but right now there's a lot more of it. So that's one.
I actually did a presentation once a year. It's called Real Estate Safety. They have a lot of our escrow and then they send here to let them. And so I put together about the agent about a year and a half ago. She went there, and this guy was kind of on a bike and all this, and he came in, and she's like, you know, hold on, I'm a little busy. And I mean, she's letting him walk behind her. She's in the house with him. She's alone. She gets busy on the phone. They are outside. And she's like, you know, hold on. And he kind of turns, looks right at the camera, and then goes up and just pushes her to the ground and gets her. And I mean, for whatever, they got him. But you have to be careful in the real estate industry. There are people that are preying upon people. You're representing someone's house, maybe his nature, walking through it. You know, it's their stuff. The people that are still living there, they haven't cleared it out on top of it. But could you be locked into a room and nobody knows you're there? You should probably should invite the local deputy or police officer to come by and, hey, I'm going to be showing this house today. I got some donuts. You know, donut will get you here. I know it'll work. Right? You know, a donut, a restroom. When you're working patrol, a lot of times a restroom is pretty important. You know.
That's where I see you at the West San Gabriel. That's
it.
Realtors.
That's it.
You were there doing this the safety summit.
The safety summit.
Yes.
That's been about 4 years ago now, huh?
Yeah.
At least I have they videotape. That's online.
Yeah.
I believe it is. Yeah.
I wonder. This is oh no.
You see me on Channel 2? They don't take it off. Yeah. You want me to zip through food?
Yeah, we can just.
Okay. Oh, look at that little braver guy following. That was this guy. Oh, these were scandalous people. They were like 5 deep in a house, but all their cars, the driveway. The wives didn't really care what was going on until we started taking their cars. Oh my gosh, and they were screaming at their husbands and saying, you need to go to prison. But they also got to go because they benefit and they do. Right? Go ahead, pass that. Okay, so here, pass it. Just so you know, I mean, people go in the house, they take it over, and they'll sign signatures, and this guy had moved away, he had a heart or a stroke, and he went to help his sister live in Kern County or something, it was far away. But he didn't give up his house, but they took it over. They stole all his stuff inside, stole it, took it over to the house, like the lady came to represent, she was the agent, and sold his house. I mean, it was terrible. So we have to go out and find people sometimes and say, hey, you know, you haven't been at your house for a year. What happened? Did you sell your house? And this guy we actually had deputies come out from an agency miles from here and walk up. And the guy didn't have a phone or anything. He was living out in, way out there. Go ahead. A lot of times when we do search warrants, that is on this case too. When we go into people's places, we find things that we know because of what we do. And when they're seeing this, what do you think they're doing here? This is a piece of evidence. This is golden. This, you know, and the LAPD, because we're a task force, called and said, hey, Dana, you need to look at this address over in Bellflower. We think there's something going on. They're practicing signing the signatures for that document you just saw. That's the beauty of everybody meeting and talking and communicating. We do this all the time. It's like trading baseball cards. The sign, there it is. So, guy sees that the house is vacant and realizes he can sell it. He calls from out of state, even after the widow's home, out of state. She's somewhere, they're going to sell the home. And he impersonates the dead husband that had passed away, right? And he calls him on stage. He gets a real estate agent, he gets enough to put a sign and say, go ahead and put it for sale. Until he puts a sign out there and tries to sell it. I mean, it's amazing how people get fooled. We see this a lot of times too, a fractionalized where people are putting different names on to save their home in bankruptcy, and then they realize when they finally, whatever they want to do, that they got to remove these people and they're not around, so they're fictitious. People will fit the percentages to fool the bankruptcy court. It's another area of law. And so they'll do anything, especially divorces. And then they find out, it's not the evil husband or wife they're divorcing. It was someone else that was doing it. So you never know who the suspects are. We have a lot of times in foreclosure rescue back in the day, we had this going on, and people were coming in to get other things done, help me with my documents and other things that I need to work or stay in the United States. And they take that information to the next one, and then turn around and use it to do other crimes against people.
If they go through a notary, say that those grandees were falsified, but they're stamped by a notary that's supposedly verified.
You've seen my stuff. You know what's coming, don't you? Next slide. That's what they do. They cut and paste, and they stick on and make Xerox copies. They steal notary stamps that have been on the documents. Yeah, they'll convince a notary to do a dirty deed, but this is actually, we found these there. There's other things we found which I can't show to the public because it's just not, I can't, but I can show these. They cut and paste these on Xerox at one time, and it looks legit.
All right, David, I think
We got it? Okay. That's good. Good enough.